Hi friends, a very pleasant good evening and welcome back to Olive Board. So finally, yes, we are done with RBI Grade B 2023 Phase 1 examination. The Shift 2 is also done, right? And here we are having a look at how were the questions that were asked in Shift 2 of the prelims examination. So we have already had an analysis and overall a sneak peek as to what kind of questions were asked in Shift 1. So right now, what we will be doing, we'll not go into much of depth. We'll just see a quick comparison of how the questions were in Shift 1 and Shift 2. And at the end, quickly, we'll come to a conclusion with respect to the expected cutoff, right? We'll also see how each section was in terms of the difficulty level. That will help us understand, the cutoff going up or down compared to last year as well. So I can see students there. Hi Abhishek. Hi, I hope you're doing good. I can see students have joined in right now. In a minute, we will quickly start this particular overall analysis. We'll keep it very short though, okay, and just giving you an idea about the examination per se. Fine. Okay, so let's start with the GA section. So we have always talked about GA section being our super section, the section which actually helps us, to clear RBI Grade B prelims examination. So let me tell you. Firstly, let's see here Shift 2, since we are talking about Shift 2 right now. So honestly, not much of a difference in the overall schema when you talk about Shift 1 and Shift 2. But yes, in Shift 2, there were 20 to 25 questions that were very factual in nature. In fact, very minute information or details were actually asked, for example, from RBI annual report. So it was very minute. So you might have missed reading that as well. So that kind of detailing was required in terms of you knowing the data points. Okay, so that's how 20 to 25 questions we did see in the Shift 2. We did not see such a clear demarcation when you talk about Shift 1. Okay, this particular area that you see. But one thing was very common. The paper was lengthy, be it Shift 1 or Shift 2, specifically talking about the GA section. So this is one common point, right? The other thing is very few questions were one-liners. There were statement-based questions. There were two-liner questions. Also, certain amount of background information was already given in the question and you had to infer the answer for some other question related to the background. Okay, so one thing was very clear. Elimination could have been a very good method to solve these GA questions. Okay, you can start eliminating the options and then you could have gone ahead and selected the right answer. So that's one bit here. The other thing, which is again very common, is the orientation of the entire GA section. Okay, usually if you talk about Phase 1 RBI Grade B 2023, we see that 30 to 35 marks. Usually the questions are asked from proper Phase 1 related questions that you also see in other banking exams like awards, appointments, books and authors, etc. Those things were missing this year. The entire section was based on ESI and finance. Okay, that is Phase 2 orientation. So that's something which we saw. So students who were simultaneously preparing for current affairs for Phase 1 and Phase 2, like we have said always in our strategy sessions, they would have benefited a lot because of that method of preparation. Because yes, the questions were Phase 2 level questions in terms of current affairs, statement based, few factual questions from RBI reports and etc. So overall speaking, Shift 1, Shift 2 did not see a major difference when you talk about the kind of paper that was expected. Yes, Shift 2 can be said to be a little easy compared to Shift 1. Okay, that is this comparison between Shift 1 and Shift 2. But when you compare this GA paper 2023 with 2022 GA, obviously this year the difficulty level was tough. Okay. And the focus was May and June was given priority for Shift 2 questions. So this is how your GA section actually looked like when you talk about RBI Grade B 2023 examination. So anywhere between 28-32 decent correct attempts would have done the job for you, because the overall cutoff will see a dip, a little dip when compared to your last year paper. We'll see that quickly. Okay. Moving on to the next section that we have is reasoning. So when you talk about shift 1 and shift 2, there were just slight changes that you would have observed. So first thing is no coding and decoding in shift 2. In shift 1, we did see coding and decoding. Okay. The next thing, input output questions were there instead of coding decoding. We had reverse syllogisms here. In shift 1 we did not have. There were data sufficiency questions, 6 questions. Even in shift 1 you had data sufficiency, but the number of questions were less. The paper was lengthy because again the puzzles, you had to read a lot of information in the puzzles. One of the puzzles was simpler both in shift 1 and shift 2. In both shift 1 and shift 2, blood relation questions they asked in the form of a puzzle. So that could have been a little trickier because usually blood relation questions are picked to score marks, but if they're given in the form of puzzles, that could have been a problem for a few of you. Okay, so that's how the things were. This lengthy mark actually is there for the entire paper only, because GA also you did see the questions being lengthy, right? The same thing has happened with reasoning also. Critical reasoning was also there as part of shift 2. You had nearly 10 questions from critical reasoning. So more or less these were the only differences that we could observe from your shift 1 and shift 2. You can see here shift 1 split up here, more or less remaining the same. The difference being coding and decoding not there in shift 1, okay, and reverse syllogs being included in shift 2. Okay, so here this is how the things were, and 15-16 decent correct attempts would have done the job for you. And I hope accuracy level is something that you guys have concentrated upon, because I've been saying n number of times in any of my strategy session that you will need to count upon accuracy. If you're not maintaining good accuracy levels, and there are chances you might not be able to make it. Okay, so I am hoping all of you have kept those points in your mind. Fine. Moving forward, you have English language. Fine, this paper was a little easier. This section was a little easier when you talk about the level of the questions here. So not much of a difference between shift 1 and shift 2. So you did have reading comprehension based questions, 7 to 8 questions. Yes, the passage was a little lengthier compared to last year. That's one point here. Fine, you had error detection questions. Same thing came even in shift 2. So nothing different as such. Sentence rearrangement, different sentences within the same sentence. Same thing was seen in shift 2. Word replacement questions were seen in shift 1 and shift 2. Correct usage of words, more number of questions were seen in shift 2. That is the only thing that was different here. So again, 17 decent attempts for those who feel English is okay. Okay, so for those students that can be the case, but out of all the 4 sections, English can be called the easiest one when you talk about comparing it with last year as well, and the overall difficulty level of the paper. So if you are somebody who was counting on English, that okay, because if you have attempted our sessions, we always have the strategy that GA is going to be the key, and out of reasoning and English, one section is going to help us clear the paper. So if you were banking upon English, then you should have scored something like 24, 25. Okay, if you are very, very confident in English. Fine, so that's how this particular section looked like. Moving to the last section, quantitative aptitude. Yes, it was tough if you ask me. The difficulty level, plain and simple. That's how the thing has been. And similar case with shift 1 as well as shift 2. We did not see major differences between shift 1 and shift 2 when you talk about the difficulty level. So don't worry about it. So summarizing, you had 2 DI questions, sets, 1 Quizlet, and here the difficulty level was high, plus one of the DI was very lengthy. This is something you need to note. We had number series, which was on a little different pattern, not the usual ones. We had data sufficiency, quadratic, arithmetic also were lengthy questions, plus good mix of all the topics. So this is how the subjects or the areas looked like when you talk about quantitative aptitude, shift 1 and shift 2. Not much of a difference out there. Plus 4 to 6 decent correct attempts. That's what we can see here. So I would say correct attempts. Okay, it's not your total attempts. So if you have attempted something like 7 or something, we are expecting you are doing 6 out of that correct. So accuracy level, again, bringing back the same point that I discussed with you all in the starting as well as in my earlier sessions as well. It's important you have selected the right questions. You have picked the right answer for those questions. I think that's how you would crack this particular paper. Fine. Okay. So coming to the crux of why we are taking this session, because right now our only focus is to understand the difficulty level overall, just know a little about the cutoff, because see, at the end of the day, these are predictions, but these are based on how difficult or easy the paper was. So we would rate this paper to be difficult, and actually it is on the similar lines that we are seeing the past 2 years. Because if you observe the cutoff of the overall phase 1 examination of RBI grade B, it's been in the range of 60s or so, right? We used to have a time when the cutoff was 80s, 122 also we had one. So those things, it is not in that league, obviously. It's in the same league as 21 and 22. And because of the lengthier questions being present in the GA section, which actually would have led to few of you not completing the paper, or you did not get a chance to see all the 80 questions. I'm sure many of you there watching the live session also were can tell me that they were not able to read all the 80 questions. It would have been harder for us to complete the paper. That was the scenario today. Okay. The paper overall, nothing much straight away difficult. The cutoff expected 60 to 65 is something we are expecting. Okay. Yeah, this is what we have seen from shift 1, shift 2, and based on the difficulty level. Right. So that's about the papers that were there. One other thing that I would like to mention here. Now what should be the next step? Clearly, I've mentioned the same thing in shift 1 analysis as well. You have done the examination, you have done your job right now. 3 options or 3 categories of people. One category, no for sure, I'll not be able to clear. It's okay. Take some time, 3 days, 4 days, relax yourself. We'll think about what needs to be done next. The second set of people, very sure, paper is good, I've done well. Bingo, take a day or 2 rest, start your preparation for phase 2. Don't wait for the result, please. The third set of people sitting on the fence, thinking what to do. I might clear, I might not clear. If you are in that confusion, you will still have to start your preparation for phase 2, because the result takes 5 to 6 or 7 days maybe, okay, max. That is not that, these are precious days for us. We cannot afford to lose these 7 days also. So take a day off and then continue your preparation or start your preparation for phase 2. That's how the entire schema should be, right? And once again, please tap yourself on the back that you have attempted the examination. Don't be in a self-sabotage mode today in case your examination was not good. So please don't keep thinking about it. I know it's easier said than done, but I would gently request you that forget those things. Have a good night's sleep today. You have done well, gone to the examination hall, given your best, right? And if you haven't given your best, then you know what to do next. You'll have to try harder. That's how the things move, right? Thank you guys. Thank you so much. So please understand about the 3 scenarios that I spoke to you about and start your preparations or take some rest before that. Okay. Thank you so much, guys.